In this lesson, we will cover creating and editing pipe types and creating and editing duct types. This project was created using the default systems template, and some of the out-of-the-box pipe types and duct types were used to create some sample runs. When you create duct or pipe, you have to create it based on a certain type. And we'll take a look at how you can create and adjust those. Let's start by looking at some pipe types. Here we have just the standard type, and then this is a PVC type. And as you can see, those fittings are slightly different. And then this type is just called chilled water. And these are the out-of-the-box pipe types. Let's take a look at this PVC type here. And when I select a pipe and click Edit Type, there's several of the identity data parameters, but really the main one we want to focus on when creating duct or pipe types are the routing preferences. So I'll click Edit next to Routing Preferences, and this opens the Routing Preferences dialog. And this is where you can control all the fittings that are used for the pipe type. So the first one is the pipe segment. And you can see this button right here, Segments and Sizes, and this will open up the Mechanical Settings dialog to the Segments and Sizes options. And so this is where you can specify a material and then all the sizes that are available for that segment. So I'll click Cancel to close that. And so as you can see here, we have a PVC pipe segment, and then I can control the minimum and maximum size that will be used. And so in some cases you may want to create a type where you have schedule 40 for a certain size and then you have schedule 80 for another size. That can be for PVC or even steel pipe or copper. You can adjust the min and max size so that it'll use a specific segment for those sizes. Additionally, you can control fittings such as the elbow and crosses, transitions, caps. All those can be controlled here. When you expand the drop down and you don't see a fitting that you want to use, you can click Load Family and then load that fitting so that you can select it. Also, pay attention to the preferred junction type. It can be set to tap or T. And this is where you can control whether the pipe is going to tap or T into a main. So for example, with a branch pipe, is it going to tap into a main or is a T going to be used? And then you can control the junction. So for example, when T is selected under junction, you can then select a T. If tap was selected, you can then select a tap. So I'll click OK to close this dialog. And then we can switch to another type, for example, standard, and then click Edit, and you can see here that just all of the generic components are used here. So I'll click Cancel. So let's select Duplicate, and then let's create a pipe type called butt weld carbon steel, and then click OK. And then I'll click Edit next to Routing Preferences. And for the pipe segment, we can select steel, carbon. We'll do schedule 80 for right now. And then when I expand the elbow drop down, you can see that there's not a carbon steel elbow. So we can click Load Family. And then we will navigate to Pipe, Fittings, Carbon Steel, and then Class 150, Flanged. And for this example, we'll just select all of them and load them all in. It'll take a brief moment here to get those all loaded into the project. And then I can expand elbow. And now I can select one of the carbon steel elbows that we just loaded in. And we could continue and select the other fittings as needed. But that is how we can go about creating a new pipe type. I'll click OK to close these dialogues. And then let's take a look at some of the duct types. So for duct, I'll select one of the ducts and I'll expand the type selector. There are 3 system families for duct. There's oval duct, rectangular duct, and round duct. For pipe, we just have pipe. There's not separate system families. But for duct, there is. And I'll select another one here just so we can take a look. And then I'll click Edit Type. And for duct, it's very similar. There's an additional roughness parameter, but other than that, it's adjusting the routing preferences. And the routing preferences are, once again, made up of all the fittings that make up that duct type. I'll click OK, and then click OK, and so you can create a duct type just like you would create a pipe type. Now, the important thing to realize when you're working with ducts and pipes is that you can't simply switch between types like you would other components. So for example, if I select so right now this is an oval duct run, and I select all of this, I can't just expand the type selector and change the type. Now you could select an individual duct and change the type, but that's really not going to benefit you. And so if you select everything, or you can even use tab to tab through and select everything, there's tools that are specific to duct and pipe, and it's change type and reapply type. So if I select change type, I can then expand the type selector and choose a different type, such as mitered elbows, T's. And when I do, now everything is switched over to that type. If you had made adjustments here to a certain fitting, or you even made adjustments to the routing preferences, you could use reapply type and it will update everything to the current type. So just be aware that when working with duct and pipe, you can use those change type and reapply type tools.